Hello guys, so in the last tutorial we talked about how an Angular application gets loaded and started, and we also said that since Angular is a single page application, there's only one file that is being served by the server, which is the index.html, and the index.html comprises in the body of the app root, which is a root component which has its own file. So whenever Angular sees this app root, it replaces the contents of this body with the template of this component. So talking about components, so why are components actually so important in an Angular application? And that is a question we have to answer today. So here is an example, or it's just a sketch of how an Angular application looks like, or how a website looks like. So here we have a single page, and here we can actually observe that we have the header, we have the body, we have the sidebar, and we have the footer. So your application can actually be splitted into many parts or splitted into many components. So you can have one component which is just your header, you can have another component which is just your main content, which can actually be splitted again into many components as you wish. So you can split your application, your complex application, because once the application becomes more complex, you don't want it to be just in a single file. So that is why you need to split your application into many components so that it can be easily be maintainable. So the advantages of splitting your application into many components is that, first of all, it can easily be maintained. Secondly, it can easily be updated. Thirdly, it can easily be exchanged. And fourthly, it can easily be reused. So when you split your application into many parts, into many components, you can actually reuse these components. And you have to notice that each component, or you have to take note that each component has its own template. Each component has its own style. And each component has its own business logic, which is really the important part of the component. So basically, that is why components are so important in an Angular application, because you might not want to have all your business logic or all your code in just one file. It can really be very hard to maintain that. So that is why it's a good practice, and it's very important to split your application into various components so that it can easily be maintained, because you might want to handle just a specific part, or you might just want to update a specific part of your application, and it will be very easy to focus just on one part or to focus just on one component and then update it. You might want to use the footer, you might want to use the header, since those two components really doesn't change. So you might want to reuse it in other segments of your application or other parts of your application, or you might want to use some specific components and reuse it. You might want to reuse and reuse them in many other parts of your applications. So basically, guys, that is why components are so important, are so efficient, because it really allows you in complex applications, even medium to complex applications. So it allows you to really have a good to really program in a very good way, because your code will be clean, your code will be easily be maintainable, and then you can reuse them sooner or later. So guys, in the next lecture, we are going to learn how to write a component. So thank you for watching this course. Goodbye.